is school-based health programs under the Whole Child Division, a division that our state superintendent of public instruction, Tony Thurman, created to meet the needs of the whole child. I am very happy to see so many in attendance today to share in recognizing Mental Health Awareness Month. But please know, it's not just one month of the year, it's every single day that we are charged with supporting the mental health and wellness of our school communities. Our webinar aims to promote mental health awareness, reduce stigma, and equip participants with practical strategies to support the well-being of students, staff, and yourselves within your communities. Today's webinar will be recorded and shared along with the slide deck to all of you who have registered. Our webinar objectives for today is to promote awareness. Participants will develop a deeper understanding of mental well-being in students, staff, and self, enabling them to advocate for and support mental health initiatives within their community. Reduce stigma. Participants will explore effective strategies to reduce stigma surrounding mental health and barriers to seeking help, allowing them to foster a culture of acceptance among students, staff, and self. And take action. Participants will gain practical strategies to promote mental well-being, empowering them to take actionable steps in implementing programs and initiatives that support students, staff, and self. I'd like to introduce Dr. Mary Beth Boyer. Please come and join me.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us. I have the pleasure of introducing our first presenter today. I'm introducing you all to Emily Griswold with 1111 Wellness. Emily is a cultural repair strategist and former special education teacher who partners with public schools to build emotionally safe staff communities. Her work focuses on healing school culture through coaching, relational repair, and care-centered practices. Because when educators feel supported, students thrive. When she's not supporting student success, you can find her hiking with her fiance, kayaking with her wiener dog, or snuggling up with her cats. Emily, come and join us.
Thank you so much. And I just wanted to say first, happy Teacher Appreciation Week to any teachers on the call. This was one of my favorite weeks, and I hope that you're being appreciated and feeling that appreciation. So as Mary Beth mentioned, I'm Emily Griswold, and I'm here to talk to you today about mental health from the perspective of the adults inside of schools. We have a lot of supports for kids, which is fantastic, but we haven't so much figured out how we're going to love on the adults that are taking care of kids for 8 hours a day. So that's my job. I come to you with 10 years of public school teaching experience. I was a special educator in DC public schools, and that makes me able to talk really freely about what it's like to work in a public school, and to know what it looks like to have a public school not be so supportive of my own mental health and well-being. What we know to be true is that when adults are supported, kids thrive. And my job is to partner with public schools to save money, time, and hopefully your staff by really repairing culture at the root. On the next slide, I'm going to tell you a little bit about how we got here. So I'm interested to see anyone in the chat if you may be feeling this way, whether you're a teacher, a social worker, or just somebody connected to public schools. If you may or may not feel like this meme, because students aren't the only ones who are struggling and who are having a hard time. We all need emotional safety, and we're asking kids to regulate their emotion, build skills and empathy, but we aren't often allowed to do that as adults. And now more than ever, there's limited resourcing, especially in public education, and those oftentimes that amount of funding is not being used well because we're having to rehire so many folks every single year, whether that looks like teachers, principals, but we have the solutions. We know what would make our job more sustainable. It's just being able to have the space and time to work on those more cultural roots. So I'll start with a little bit of a story, and then we'll head into some suggestions of how to take what we already know is the problem and make it feel a little bit better. So my story really starts with coming to DC public schools. I'm going to save the world. And I found out really quickly, one, that was not going to happen. And two, that teaching was extremely stressful. And three, that the system of education really does set us up to feel overwhelmed and dysregulated. I was in a graduate program where I was expected to teach full time during the day to kids with emotional behavior disturbances, and to go to school full night every night during the week, carrying an entire caseload of classes. During that time, I started struggling with panic attacks and insomnia, and ended up going to very intense therapy and medication management. And when I got there, I assumed that it was my fault, that I was weak or something was wrong with me, and that's how I had ended up in that spot. But it was actually my first therapist, who was this wonderful older woman, who said to me, Emily, that situation kind of sounds like a setup. And I was like, what? It's not a moral failure? This is not my fault that I'm overwhelmed and stressed out. I don't understand. And she was the first person to really walk through systemic stress and the idea that maybe the environment that I was in was causing some of this, and not just me having, a weak nervous system as I had thought previously. So on the next slide, we're going to reference school culture, right? So I'm interested, and again, like, please interact in the chat, because webinars are so, like, I've done a couple of them and I love them because you get to interact with so many people, but it's hard because I can't see your faces. So please let me know in the chat about your school culture, right? Culture teaches a lot of things to us. We can think about our own personal cultures. We can think about various cultures we've interacted with. And I'm interested, like, what is your school culture teaching right now? Is there emotional safety among the adults? And when I talk about adults, I mean teachers and administration, teachers and other teachers, teachers and parents. Because really that's what is showing students what care looks and feels like. When we think about things like how you start off a meeting or what an email looks like, all of those things are either building the tones and the messages of trust, or they are kind of cracking that foundation. Healing-centered schools, which is part of what we're here to talk about during Mental Health Awareness Month, is kind of releasing that constant threat of the word resilience, and swapping that out for relational repair. Because, again, in the money category, we spend a lot of money on a lot of interventions, some of which are fantastic, but all of those systems won't stay if the connection between us is broken. And that's what I want you to really walk away with today, is to start to think about, what is it like to be an adult in my school building? And, what would the kids say if they were a fly on the wall about how the adults interact, and not only how they interact, but how they're treated, right? Like, what does their stress level look like? How overwhelmed are they on a day-to-day basis? Because that is the number one intervention that the kids are actually paying attention to, potentially outside of some of your other kind of SEL programming. So the next part I want to walk you through is, the bigger picture, and we can head to the next slide. I want you to reflect on this concept of school culture and what it looks like when it's not going so well. I ask this question and I'm interested to see how people respond. You're welcome to have this moment inside of your own head. You can write it down, or again, you can put it in the chat. Where does unspoken tension or fear sabotage your school's culture? And I encourage you to look at it from the lens of the quote on the right, which is kind of like my battle cry in my work that I do. Nikita Valiero, who's a Muslim scholar, says, shouting self-care at people who need community care is how we fail people. Baths are great, so are deep breaths. That is not the systemic solution to keeping wonderful teachers and principals and social workers and nurses and everybody else in this call, community support managers, in their roles, right? Baths can only go so far. So take a moment and think about this. Where does unspoken tension or fear sabotage your school's culture? And I'm going to give you some quiet time to do that because I'm a special educator at heart, and I know everybody has different processing times. And I'm seeing from a technical place that the chat is disabled, so we can't interact as much. Feel free to throw it in the Q&A. But I feel you in spirit responding. I know there's so many responses happening all the way in California, and I'm located in Washington, DC. So there's some serious vibes coming from all of you. So now that we've had a chance to think about, you know, the challenges, we don't want to sit in the challenges forever because, you know, that's not always the most helpful place. I do a lot of what I call grasping at the root with schools. So I do a lot of conversations around what is gone wrong, looking at numbers of teachers who have and haven't been retained, combing through budgets to see how much money has been spent. But if we stay in that place only it doesn't lead to a lot of hope. So on the next slide, I want to give you something that you can try, because we have to, you know, again, practice what we preach. Oh, here we go. Yay, see chats coming in. Concerns of ongoing funding, tension from culture, must-dos. Yes, 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 yes. Right? All of the outside expectations we have. Good. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. So I want to give you a practice. This is something that I do every day. I practice something called the leaving it ritual. I actually learned this ritual from a friend whose mom is a death doula, which is somebody who helps people transition as they are leaving and moving on. And she suggested this as a way that she continues to keep her goodness while she serves people that are really sick. And I think in schools, and especially public schools right now, it can feel really, really challenging because there's so much work, right? There's so many things that we are expected to be supporting, and it can be hard to leave it because it feels like if we leave it, you know, who else will pick it up? So this is what I want you to try. And I want you to try it today. I know it's like 2:20 or so there in your place, but I want you to try it when you leave today. Pick an intentional way to end your workday. So that can be something like washing your hands. You can have a phrase. Mine is, I've done enough. I am a perfectionist through and through, so it is very hard for me to let it go. Other folks may have other rituals. Some people come home and take a shower. It's really up to you what you choose. But the whole point of it is to signal to your body that your work is done. There has to be an end because we have to show both the culture at large and the kids that we can care very deeply about things and we can rest. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. And if we practice them consistently, then that's the culture. That becomes what's normalized. You know, and we've been talking a lot about the community piece of this, and you might be thinking, well, this is an individual practice. Well, bonus, you can do this with other people. This looked like for me being able to walk out with my colleagues and, you know, share a funny anecdote of something that happened that day, or even connect on something really, really difficult that I knew had impacted me, but I didn't want to bring home. It's a great container because it happens there and it kind of stays in that space. Often, and I would love to know in the chat if you've ever been told this, we're told to leave our stuff at the door. I think that's impossible on both ends, right? Just like we can't leave our stuff at the door and come into a school building, it's also really difficult to leave our stuff at school and come home. But this is a way to tell our body that, hey, I've done all I can for today. And for anybody that struggles with insomnia, this is my go-to when my brain starts doing that thing at the end of the day. Have I done enough? I'm gonna leave you, but I have one more thing I want to invite you to. But something I want to leave you with is one of my favorite authors of all time. Her name is Bell Hooks. If you're unfamiliar, highly suggest looking her up. She is a famous, wonderful, amazing feminist Black writer who we lost a couple years ago. But she talks a lot about children and children who watch and see what the adults around them do. And she says from one of her books, if we give our children sound self-love, they will be able to deal with whatever life puts before them. And for me, what this has looked like is giving ourselves and our culture the ability to have sound self-love so that the kids are watching us put it into practice. Big fan of practicing what we preach. And I think that that can be really life-changing, especially in at-promise schools where there's a lot of pressure to perform and there's a lot of systemic inequality that schools are being expected to fix. So the last thing I want to leave you with is an opportunity. So you can head to the next slide, and I want to invite you. This is from my heart to yours. This is my version of community care. I'm hosting a national community care circle. They will put the information in the chat, and I can also put it in there too. You're welcome to scan this QR code. But on May 29th, we're going to have a restorative space for anybody in public ed that needs some time to connect, to reflect, to say the stuff that you don't get to say at school, because it's really more important now than ever to come together as community and be able to be with like-minded folks who understand your experience. I would love to have you there. And you know, if you need a way to ping people to get you there, it's Teacher Appreciation Week. So go ahead and send it out to maybe your friends and family or your principals or your district administrators to let them know you need something like this. The other offerings we have are school culture audits, which I described before, workshops and keynotes. I share a lot of free information on LinkedIn, so please feel free to follow me there. And if I can leave you with nothing else, it's that somebody in this space cares about you as an adult. I'm so grateful for the work that you do every day. It's the hardest job in the world. And I'm really grateful that I got to share some tools and strategies, and I hope to see all of you on the 29th.
And you are? Okay.
Thank you so much, Emily. I always love sharing space with you. Great information. I greatly appreciate your time. And now we're going to go ahead and transition to our next panelist. With absolute pleasure that I get to introduce Jeremiah Aha. Jeremiah is a licensed therapist and serves as the Director of Communications for the national nonprofit Wellness Together, Inc. He has served students and families since 2000 in school-based and community settings. He is a member of the California Department of Education, State Suicide Postvention Response Team, and an original member of the California Department of Education Mental Health Collaborative. Jeremiah holds a master's degree from Asbury Theological Seminary and a master's degree in psychology from Brandman University. He is impressed you listen to all of this, and he lives in Sacramento, California with his wife and 2 daughters. Jeremiah, would you please join me?
Carrie, thank you so very much. Yes, I'm very impressed if you listened to that from beginning to end. One of my favorite pastimes is talking about myself in the third person. and writing about myself in the third person too. Thanks so much for the introduction. Shout out to the California Department of Education. And Sydney, thank you for serving us and for individuals where ASL is going to be helpful for them. So thanks so much. So here we are. Our goal today is to turn knowledge and care and purpose into powerful transformations. So with that, I cannot recommend enough to check out Emily's work and what she's doing in the event that is happening. Emily, thanks so much for what you are doing. Shout out to the memes as well. I feel like not only are those the funniest things on the internet, but sometimes they're the truest. So thanks for connecting with us on that. So I have the privilege of sharing a free resource for you, to support students. Here we are, Mental Health Awareness Month. I appreciate Carrie saying that, hey, it isn't just 1 month out of the year that we're concerned about our mental health. It's something that is there with us, as present as the air that we breathe. And so it's important for us to, at minimum, take 31 days throughout the year and really focus our efforts, but also realize that, hey, this is something we need to tend to throughout the entire time. Mental health is kind of like when you set an appointment to go to the dentist and you maybe haven't been flossing every day, like they're going to ask you with shame when you get there. And so you try and brush and brush and brush and floss and mouthwash until you get to the dentist's office, expecting that to erase 5.5 months of neglect. Same thing with our mental health, right? It takes an everyday, consistent kind of showing up for ourselves and for others. And so maybe that is just a side shot at, hey, take care of your teeth as well, because I know that's connected to our mental health. But appreciate, let's see, looks like Emily's has some things in here. Great, thanks so much, Emily. Okay, so as Carrie introduced me, my name is Jeremiah Aha. I'm a licensed therapist. I'm so grateful to serve on the team here at Wellness Together. We are a California-based nonprofit organization, and really kind of our day job, or the bulk of the work that we do and have been doing for some time now, is we partner with school districts across the state to provide clinicians right there on campus, working side by side with you in person on campus. Our heart from the very beginning was that, school counselors, administrators, educators, food service workers, students, they show up to campus, and so do we. And obviously there's an asterisk there for, when there's a global pandemic and it's not safe to do that. And obviously there's exceptions where it can be very tough in rural communities where maybe population density isn't that high. But we want to be right there alongside you, supporting students and being an extra supplement to that multi-tiered system of supports, just that often overused but beloved pyramid that us as educators and mental health professionals reference. So that's kind of the bulk of our work. I'm not here to talk about that today. I'm here to share about a free resource that's going to equip your students, 13 and above, to be mental health advocates, really wanting to equip and inspire and connect this next generation of mental health advocates. And along the way, I've met some students that, my gosh, it would not surprise me if we worked for them in 5 to 10 years because of the work they're already doing. And so let me share a little bit more about Mind Out Loud. And I think I'm seeing here, I can see me and Sydney, but can we go, let me check over here. Oh, great, there we go. Oh, so you all have been seeing this person here on the screen the entire time. If the chat is open, will you answer the question, the Q&A that asked to share the, oh, gotcha, great. Catching up here. Hey, if the chat's open, can I just get a test on who that is on the left on this screen, that in this slide that we're sharing here? Let me get a test run just to check some attention spans and to check to see if the chat's open. Anyone recognize that face on the left side of the slide? And team, holler at me if it's like, hey, chat's disabled, please move forward. Just let me know. You can use the Q&A to answer. Thank you, Pam. Okay, oh, it's lighting up. It's lighting up. Let me check it out. There we go. Rain will. Oh, the first one on here is Therese Funk. Therese Funk. Oh, Ahmad's got Dwight in there. Kim, Kendall, Laura, Jerry. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, good. So I have your attention. I have your attention. Very good. Now, there are many of us that were born in the 1900s that saw Dwight Schrute live on Thursday nights on NBC. And there's a group of us in here that were born and that you've always had the internet and you saw it on DVD and reruns, no shade. But that'll make more sense in a little bit why Rainn Wilson is there for us. I want to tell you about a very exciting event that want to equip you and your students. So Mind Out Loud. Mind Out Loud is an initiative, thanks in part to the California Department of Education. Back in 2021, they reached out to us as they've been a longtime partner. And as we all know, just a fierce advocate for student and educator mental wellness. So they said, hey, can you do something online for our students because their voice matters, especially right now when there's disconnection, when we aren't in person, when maybe we're not hearing or seeing some of the challenges that they're going through. Can you do something that connects students? We said, yes, we're up to the task. And they said, great. We look forward to having that in about 7 weeks. And if you've ever sat in that position where maybe an administrator or supervisor or director sends you an email request or is there in your office and says, hey, would you be open to doing this? And you kind of give a, yeah, that would be fine. And then they're like, great, that's going to happen on March 9th. And so that's kind of how we began back in 2021. So we said, hey, thanks so much for the invitation. We wanted to put something together, an event that really tells students your voice matters, to elevate the youth voice. And along the way, we realized and we're reminded even from youth, because from the beginning and even through now, top to bottom, this is a student-run, student-led, student-centered initiative. And students said, hey, if our voice matters, let's do something all year long. Let this not be just an event that we do that talk about, and really it's for ourselves, for our adults, so we can feel good about elevating youth, and then we don't talk about it again for 8 months. And I'm including myself in that category, not pointing fingers, which I know we have been perpetrators of at times. And so we said, hey, let's do something that happens year round to equip students. And so part of that has been an annual event. And we have our 5th annual Mind Out Loud event that's going to be happening on May 20th. We'll tell you more about that. But some other things that Mind Out Loud offers, again, free to equip you and your students. And it could be something that is free resources for your Bring Change to Mind Club, your NAMI on Campus High School Club, your mental health club, maybe a resource for a psychology class. Maybe it's for your incoming 8th graders. Whatever it might be, this is a free resource for you to use that includes an annual virtual event for free, monthly workshops to equip students to be mental health advocates. We have a student representative program that students are across the state joining together as committees to really create and express themselves with opportunities to lead, even there locally within their school communities, within their counties, really equipping them to how do I get on the agenda to put forth something for the next school board meeting? How do we approach our county board of supervisors and to share with them, here are the real needs from a youth perspective, equipping them to do these kinds of things. And so with that, just some stories along the way. It's year 1. We have about 24 Mind Out Loud student reps, and they're from all across the state. And I get a message that says, hey, do you have the username and password for our Spotify account? Now, shout out to Spotify if you have an account out there, or if you're borrowing someone's family account, no shade. And I said, hey, I don't know what you're talking about. They said, yeah, the students have created a podcast. Do you have the creds to get in there? I said, excuse me? And as like a therapist and as someone that's in leadership, you know, within education and mental health, immediately all the liability and the negligence things come to mind, right? About, oh my gosh, what are we putting out there? We put the right disclaimers and safety precautions, and have we vetted this content? Come to find out, the students had done an amazing job and put together something high quality. They're already past season 2 at this point. It's called Talking Out Loud. You can check it out wherever you download podcasts. And so what I took away from that is that it is amazing what students will do when we give them permission, when we give them a platform to do that. But also it's amazing what they'll do even when they don't have permission, right? When they say, hey, we want to take something that matters to us and connect with others, equip other students, share with us as leaders, as adults, this is what matters, this is what's on our minds. So There are four particular areas that Mind Out Loud focuses on. We call them the four pillars. Number one, the goal for Mind Out Loud is to improve student mental wellness. Number two is we want to promote suicide prevention resources. Number three is increasing mental health awareness and literacy. And number four, we want to connect students in rural and vulnerable communities. So now about the annual event that we have, and if I could kindly ask to go to the very beginning. I definitely front loaded the presentation, but let's go back to the very beginning to see Rainn Wilson. What are the requirements for you to become student reps, the time commitment? It's a one-year commitment, Gabriella. Thank you for the question. And applications are live for this next school year, 2025, 2026. I will put here in the chat. It's probably already in there from some of our leaders before. You can check out the application process as our team looks over those, and would love to have your students a part of that. We have plenty of like presidents of NAMI on campus or leaders within mental health advocacy clubs that are also a part of Mind Out Loud. They use it for free resources. So thank you so much for the question. I'm sure others had that. Okay, May 20th, we're going to have an event. It's going to be 10 a.m. Pacific time, or if you live out there where Emily lives, 1 p.m. East Coast time. And you're going to have a chance to not only view it live there, streaming live at 10 a.m., but also moving forward as it's going to be recorded and available to stream with your students when it's convenient for you. The theme for this year is Be the Change, Small Acts, Big Impact. And yes, I buried the lead here. Rainn Wilson is going to be on with us. And one of our very own Mind Out Loud student reps is going to be interviewing him. And the excitement on their face when they were told they get to interview Rainn Wilson was, I don't have to tell you, because they were just over the top excited. And who wouldn't be if you're a fan of his work? And shout out if you know his role in Lessons in Chemistry too, which was a great show. I enjoyed him there. Turns out he can be kind of a mean guy too, play a mean actor. So May 20th is going to happen. Let's go to the next slide, tell you a little bit more. As I mentioned, the four pillars and why they're going to be attending is to inspire students, to equip students with those resources, and so they can connect with others. This is really can be an introduction to the Mind Out Loud program. The next slide is going to show a QR code where you can register or have your students register to the event. Again, it's going to be May 20th, 10 a.m. Pacific time. It's going to be about an hour and a half. Then we have student-led breakouts are going to be later on that evening, where these are student-driven, student programs, student-led breakouts that are going to be streaming there and recorded. And just know that, hey, you're like, well, I can't do it on May 20th. This is too late of notice. I need more time. No problem. We got you. We got you. From the very beginning, we thought, how can we equip educators and students to have the best access they can to this? So we began something here in the next slide called Mind Out Loud Watch Parties. And that's where we're looking to you as educators, as leaders, to be able to host a space for students to gather, to watch maybe on the big screen TV. Maybe it's in a gym. I remember first year, San Joaquin County Office of Ed. Nora, if you're on here, shout out to you and to your team at San Joaquin County. They had a gym full of students and they were safely distanced from each other, and a big screen or a big projector showing the Mind Out Loud event. So however you'd like to do that when it fits your calendar, your schedule, your programming, it could be during an assembly day. You can go ahead and sign up to be a watch party host. On the next slide, you can give some details. You can find out what you can do with this. And we want to send you donuts. We want to reimburse you for that donut bill. So we have a set aside pot of funds that is going fast. And that's not just like infomercial speak, but while supplies last, which really is like, hey, if we have the money, go ahead and turn in those receipts, as we've been sending donuts across the US actually for 4 years now. It used to be pizza, but then more and more parties came through. So I was like, this is getting kind of tight. We better do something cheaper. So now it's donuts, which even if you are gluten-free, shout out to donuts, man. They are delicious. And there's even gluten-free donuts, dairy-free donuts out there. Anyway, I'm getting off the point. We want to be able to equip that place to be a fun, engaging, enjoyable time for students. So this is a call for you as a leader of youth to be able to host a Mind Out Loud watch party. And you can watch this sometime in June, sometime in the summer, sometime at the beginning of the next school year. You decide. There's no prescription for that. Just sign up there on the website. In the last couple of minutes that I have, I also want to share something, another event for you. This is a lot of notice, and I hope that some of you have attended before, but it's okay if you haven't. And that is the 9th annual Wellness Together Conference. This would not happen without an amazing partnership with the California Department of Education. And this next slide shows we're going to be in San Diego on September 29th to October 1st at the San Diego Convention Center. You can go ahead and sign up now at wellnesstogether.org/conference. And the next slide, I still can't believe what I'm seeing on the lineup that we have this year. Dr. Vivek Murthy, yes, the former 19th and 21st Surgeon General, best-selling author of the book Together, the author of The Youth Mental Health Crisis and a Call for Us to Connect with Each Other, The Loneliness Epidemic. The Dr. Murthy is going to be there. Anna Malika Tubbs and her partner Michael Tubbs as just an amazing couple. Michael Tubbs, the former mayor of Stockton. If Stockton's in the house, shout out to you as being the youngest mayor in the major city here in the US. Rainn Wilson, remember him. Former Secretary of Education, Dr. John B. King, serving as Secretary of Ed under President Barack Obama. I was looking forward to looking ahead at Anya Kamanet's name. She's an NPR education correspondent, author of The Art of Screen Time and The Lost Year. And that's just our keynotes. We have 3 days of breakouts. And finally, the last detail on this, the first day, so September 29th, and the chat's going crazy over here. I'm sorry I can't get to it. I want to be focused just on you to tell you, day one is our day for leaders. Anyone can come. Anyone is invited, but day one is going to be focused on you as a leader. And day 2 and day 3 are going to be for those that are practitioners, those that are really wanting to get their hands on some practical resources to take back to their school site. But day 1 is going to be focused on you for those that lead a staff, lead a team. Again, anyone can come, but no, there's going to be a day that the programming is geared for you. So we're going to go over policy updates, mental health legislation, leading school communities, and even a leadership dinner that night. I really hope you can attend. I may or may not be up on stage once again this next year. It's a joy to host you if you've been there before. Again, the 9th Annual Wellness Together Conference this year in San Diego. If you have questions, the last slide has that. hello@mindoutloud.org for questions there, or conference@wellnesstogether.org for questions on the 9th Annual Wellness Together Conference. I feel my voice getting a little gravelly, so that must mean my time is up. Carrie, back to you.
Jeremiah, thank you so much. You had me at donuts, but when I saw the lineup of the keynotes for this year's Wellness Together, incredibly excited for that. And for those of you on the call who haven't been, I'll do a plug for Wellness Together. It's incredible, absolutely incredible. So I encourage you all to look into what Jeremiah shared. And thank you again to Emily. And looking forward to her May 29th community circle. So be sure you have that on your calendar as well. We're now moving on to our next panelist, and I'm very excited to introduce you all to Devin Saragosa Harris. If you have not checked out Youth Creating Change, after you see her presentation, I think you will immediately access some of the videos and information she's going to share. Devin is a senior program manager with Youth Creating Change. She holds a master's degree in public health from UCLA with a concentration in community health sciences and a specialization in health education and health promotions. She has worked with youth of all ages throughout her career in the nonprofit sector and has been a passionate advocate for mental health. Devin is also a doctoral student at Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health, where her coursework has focused on adolescent development, public mental health, and spatial data analysis. Devin, come join us and share Youth Creating Change with us.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you so much for the kind introduction. My name is Devin Saragosa Harris, and I'm a senior program manager with Youth Creating Change. We wanted to welcome you to Mental Health Month. It's kind of unbelievable that we are already in May, but that's how it goes. Today, I'm going to be here to share some resources that we have developed for Mental Health Month, as well as some opportunities for the youth that you work with. And yeah, just as like a very brief introduction, I work for an organization called Youth Creating Change. We are dedicated to placing young people's voices and creativity at the center of suicide prevention and mental health programming. And we are a statewide program, so we operate throughout California. Our two main programs that you may have heard of are Directing Change, which works to educate youth on mental health and suicide prevention, then engages them through an annual film contest where the young people create short films on the topics. They can win cash prizes, lots of fun things that they get out of it. And we really do try to celebrate the youth as much as possible that choose to actually engage and share their voices on these important topics. And then the films themselves are used for advocacy purposes afterward. And then our other key initiative is called Hope and Justice, which tackles social justice topics within youth throughout California, again, especially social justice topics that overlap with mental health. And there are rotating monthly prompts that youth can answer through really any art medium. And we'll go to the next slide. So we are on this call today to talk about our Mental Health Matters month toolkit. And this is really developed, we create this toolkit to help all of you. So there's lots of different resources that are part of this toolkit, but it is free to use, free to download. I also like to just put it out there. There's a lot of pieces as part of this toolkit. So I'll go through very briefly what is involved, but feel free to kind of pick through what works for you, what you think the youth in your life might be actually interested in, or things that really speak to you, because there are a lot of resources involved in it. But at a glance, we have some social media shareables that you can use on either your personal, your organization, if you have a specific one for your classroom or for your district, your social media platforms. They are shareable on all different platforms, and they involve films and art pieces that were created by youth about the topic of mental health. We also have an activity guide. So it's a tip sheet that we have developed and updated throughout the years from working hand in hand with schools and teachers and youth serving organizations on how to implement a mental health activity at your school or in your community, talking through like what's a good place to start, what are some things you should be thinking about in the logistics phase, what are things that the kids really seem to enjoy, and they have case studies that are based on, real life implementation over the years that our schools have really developed, and really creative things that they've come up with, because we do encourage a lot of our groups to really make sure that their events and their activities are youth-led. There's a youth voice in it. The youth have some sort of, feed where they're allowed to talk about, I want my parents to be involved, so what should that look like? Or I actually really want to be talking to my peers more about mental health, and how can we make an activity that's engaging and accessible for the people around me? We also have a ton of PSAs from our Directing Change program. Our annual contest just concluded, so we are in the phase of announcing, we've announced our regional winners, and we have a big statewide winners that will be announced at the end of this month at our award ceremony. You all are invited to come to that as well. That is going to be hosted in downtown Los Angeles on May 22nd. So if anyone is around or wants to fly out, it's always a really beautiful time where we have all of our statewide finalists attend. So our middle school and high school and college aged youth who created the top films this year about mental health and suicide prevention. Their films get screened on a huge screen in downtown LA. They really get dressed up to the nines. They get to ride in a limo. We really try to celebrate them as much as possible for, putting themselves out there, creating a piece of art and sharing it, and really having a strong message about things they want to see changed in their community, or things that have really worked for them as they have been mental health advocates or dealt with their own mental health experiences, or how they want to help the people around them. So that event is coming right up, but the films are accessible now. So if you do want to watch some of them, share some of them, embed them on your web pages, we've hand selected some of those and put those into the toolkit. And there's always a bunch more on our website as well. And then finally, we also have a monthly prompt for our Hope and Justice category, which I'll be talking about in a few slides. But just if you are looking for like an active engagement for your youth to take part in over the course of this month, that's absolutely available as well. We'll go to the next slide. So for the next few slides, I'm just going to show you like what is in this toolkit, what are some cool things you can use. So the first is on this slide, these are some social media graphics that were created with the toolkit. These were actually created by one of our youth council members from Youth Creating Change. So this is a student that has participated in our art contest throughout the year and then got really involved with us now as part of our youth council. And she felt really strongly about wanting to create some pieces that, you know, she said, I would find engaging, that my peers would actually stop and look at, you know, if they are following a school or an organization, like what are something that, you know, really speaks to her as a young person and she thinks would speak to other kids around her. So she created a whole series. They're just so beautiful and so bright that are about different self-care tips that she personally has engaged with or her friends have. And so, you know, we encourage you to use these on your platforms as well. You can do them one by one. You can do them as a carousel. There's a bunch of different graphics about different types of self-care tips that she has engaged with. And then the next slide, we have a few films that I wanted to share that were created by youth this past year. And so this first one is out of Kern County. Okay, and I don't think the sound is working.
1 second, let's go ahead and start that over. Sorry about that.
And hopefully we can, if hopefully we can get the sound working. If not, I'll put the links to these films in the chat as well. They are closed captioned, so you can read the you know, everything they're saying.
Sorry about that. We're trying to get it started, but you can just we'll go ahead and just read the captions. Sorry about that, Devin.
All good. All good. Yeah, we can read the captions and I'll send the actual links in the chat once we get through the next couple minutes. All right. I will put the link for that film in the chat. But in the meantime, could we skip ahead to the doodle draws one? We'll show you an example. While the film's not working, we do have a ton of pieces as well for our other initiative, which accepts art in any medium. So as you can see, we get drawings, a lot of digital art. We also get spoken word, poems, short stories, comics. We also get films for it as well. Original music. We had a full music prompt about music and mental health. Either how has music helped your mental health? How have you integrated mental health into music? So we got a lot of really beautiful pieces written by young people when we had that prompt back in October. But this one is an example of a piece of a young person who talked about how drawing was a form of self-care and a way for her to really kind of reflect on who she had been in the past, who she currently is, and how she uses this as well to kind of think through who she wants to be in the future. So there's pieces like this integrated into the toolkit as well. And then leading on to the next one. So I mentioned that we do have a prompt available for our monthly contest, which is called Hope and Justice. And this month's prompt is called What is Your Word, which was inspired by the Cal Hope and Children and Youth Behavioral Health Initiatives, PSA, where they asked young people, what is your word? And so this prompt asks young people to create a short, could create a short film, but also really a piece, any sort of art medium that is talking about sharing your word, about what does a community where all young people feel like they're never a bother look like. And we ask them to creatively express their word to describe something like what young people need to feel supported when they're going through a tough time, their reasons for living, their reasons for reaching out for help, or your wish for how young people and older generations could come together and have better conversations about mental health and suicide prevention, because we know a lot of times that generational gap can be a tough one to really bridge. And so those art pieces, it is open to anyone aged 12 through 25. They can be through a school, but we also have a lot of youth outside of school that participate and create pieces in any art medium. They're due at the end of the month by May 31st, and then they can win prizes, including Amazon gift cards up to $300. And then on the next slide, we also have our mental health thrival kits, which are linked on the toolkit. But just very briefly, if you haven't seen one of these, they're really great. They're very popular resource with both
So
youth
if we hit the share button at the bottom, right?
and
I'm really sorry. David Ram in our IT department, can you go ahead and go on mute for us, please?
so these mental health thrival kits include journaling prompts that have youth reflect on self-expression, positive coping skills, creative expression. There's different prompts there that are included on the pages. There's blank pages, line pages, dotted pages. There's also coloring pages. And then there's grounding exercises that exist throughout the journal and resources that are, have young people, if they are having a hard time, that they can reach out to like right there on hand. There is a digital version of this kit that can be downloaded for use immediately if you want to download it, share with the people around you, print it locally. If you also wanted to request a printed version of it, we were very lucky to have CDPH, California Department of Public Health, return as a sponsor this year. And made it possible for us to fulfill requests of 84,000 kits that we're printing and sending out from 34 different counties throughout California. So if you are interested, you're welcome and encouraged to join that waitlist again as we, try to get more out into the community. But, like I said, in terms of like right now, if you want to, that digital toolkit and this Thrival kit is available for download at any time. I'll also mention, you can kind of see in the photo to the side, the kit itself, we have available in 4 different versions. So we have an English version, a Spanish version, and then we have 2 culturally adapted versions, one for Korean American youth and one for Filipino American youth. So they have a lot of the same pieces, but different languages, but also the cultural adaptations were really worked to create pieces that would be, really accessible and like fit these youth. And we had, worked with different organizations to talk through what that could look like.
And Devin, I'm so happy to share that we're going to go back to your very first video and just briefly show it. I apologize. We have some IT support to help us out. And thank you all very much for your patience.
On your slide? Yeah. Okay, so you probably want to stop sharing.
Technology.
I know you're doing so good on this. They are working on it. 1 second. I think it's such an important video.
And I apologize, you can't see me. My camera is challenged because why not, right? I just want to also mirror what Devin is sharing about these videos. They are incredibly powerful. So we are working to get the audio up. If for some reason it doesn't work, we will be sharing out the link to everybody. But the videos are incredible. And we're gonna try again.
Dr. Boyer, you beat me to it. If I could jump in, I don't
Please
know if
do.
I could be
Thanks.
heard. I'm sorry.
Yeah, please do. Thank you.
Okay, so just absolute shameless plug for Youth Creating Change and for Devin, the work you've been doing for years, as I know you've been leading this along with the team, I know, but had a chance to be a judge again this year for the films. And it was down to 10 films, right, out of quite a few that you shared. And as I had told Devin in a group earlier, I wasn't crying, you were crying at these videos. They are powerful, and knowing that this is the students' imagination and their skills and their know-how with technology to take something like a vision and an idea all the way to execution, to bring it to life is just amazing. And so I cannot recommend just this particular platform enough, especially to equip students to really take some of that creative energy and put it to use in a life transforming direction. So Devin, thanks for the work you're doing there. And this is more like, I would want to say this, even if this wasn't, happening during this tech time, but it's been incredible. So shout out to you. If y'all haven't been there and seen it, please do. You will be much better off for it.
Thanks, Jeremiah. That is very kind of you. And yeah, I genuinely appreciate it. But yeah, really shout out the kids. We receive films every year. This is our 13th program year for the Directing Change program. And every year somehow the films get better. I don't know how it's possible. But yeah, I just regularly cry watching all these videos. So we highly recommend watching it. We'll send out the links. I put the link to that first one in the chat already, but highly recommend watching them. And then on our toolkit, there's a bunch more that are linked as well, just to see, just the different range of creativity that the kids have and the different types of stories that they really feel compelled and passionate about telling. So yeah, I'll put some more in the chat in a second as well. But just to wrap up, if you are interested in youth creating change and want to get involved, there's so many of those films. We received about 1,300 films this year just from Directing Change alone. So we have a bunch of them listed on our website, which you can share, you can download, you can use. You can check if there's ones, some great ones from your county, from your region, from diverse populations, different topics. If you want to focus more on suicide prevention, or you want to focus, we have a whole animated category if you want to share those sorts of pieces. So many films, so many options. We highly recommend that you use them. We have our toolkit, which I talked through, and I'll put a link to in the chat in a second. If you're interested in sponsoring or just sharing our monthly prompts, I highly recommend sending that out as well. We're always looking for new youth to get involved and to give us feedback of what's something that you really do want an outlet to talk about. So we're looking for that as we start setting up our monthly prompt calendar for next school year already. And then we have a monthly newsletter as well that you can sign up for that gives you updates on the program, talks about those monthly prompts, talks about other local opportunities for engaging with mental health with the youth in your community as well. So with that, I think that's about where we are at. And thank you, Sarah, for sending the links to the different videos we were going to share. I have my email address on this slide. I'll also put it into the chat if you are interested in participating or just getting in touch with us, or if you want to be like Jeremiah and Mary Beth and actually be a judge for us. It's a great time. We love doing it. Our judges come back year after year to do it. So I can also lead you to the right spot for that as well if you want to see some of the films before they get their big shiny trophies. You can help us make those decisions too. All right. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Devin. And again, I really apologize for the technical difficulties we've experienced. Thank you so much for sharing the information and all the work you're doing to support the mental health and wellness of our school communities in California. I appreciate sharing space with you today. Okay, so up next, I have the pleasure of introducing Marielle Ladorf. She is the Youth Programs Coordinator with NAMI of California. In her role, she leverages her experience working in school community outreach to support high school students in initiating and sustaining NAMI on-campus high school clubs. Through the high school clubs and NAMI's youth programs, Marielle empowers students to raise mental health awareness and end stigma in their communities. Marielle, would you please join us?
Hello, and thank you so much for having me here, a part of this amazing lineup. I was super excited to see everyone who is here. In our own programs, we promote these organizations as well. So I'll talk about a little bit of how that overlaps with what we do and just introduce you all to NAMI on Campus High School. All right, next slide. So what is NAMI on Campus High School? These are student-led high school clubs raising mental health awareness and combating stigma through their peer-led activities. We provide them with toolkits and resources to get started, but it's really the students who are doing the amazing work on campus. They are superstars. I'm very proud that I get to share the program, but it is all their hard work, I feel. So we empower student leaders through these clubs. They're getting to take on leadership roles. They're working with not only their peers and their club advisor, but they're working with school administrators. They're working with outside organizations to organize events. They're also empowering students to seek support. So we know that there's a lot of stigma around seeking support. And so by having open conversation, they're really breaking down this stigma, encouraging students to reach out and also to know what the resources there are that are available. So sharing resources and breaking down that stigma. And we also know that these clubs create positive and inclusive spaces on their campus. It is really incredible the type of culture that they create on their campuses. Other students feel more comfortable sharing and opening up about where they're at. And yeah, I could go on and on about the amazing work they do. And next slide. So just a couple of statistics from Blue Shield and the Harris Poll. We know that nearly 9 in 10 Gen Z youth experience mental health challenges on a regular basis. More than 3 in 5 youth say that they have experienced obstacles in receiving or trying to receive professional mental health care. And we know that that is stigma, and it's also other factors that contribute to this. And the good news is that 78% of youth have talked to others about their emotions and mental health. Of course, we want to get that number to 100%, but 78's pretty good. And we know that 52% of youth have spoken to a friend about their emotions and mental health. So, really wanting to emphasize again that these are the students who are leading these clubs. They know what their peers need to hear or how they need to hear it. They know how to create these events to engage other students. And we know that if the students are listening to anyone, it's their peers. Next slide. So what happens in NCHS Club? A lot. A lot happens in an NCHS Club. They have mental health awareness campaigns. So just like May is Mental Health Awareness Month, we know that they're doing activities around other awareness events, such as September being Suicide Prevention Month. We know that they do activities around Kindness Week or Kindness Day. I've seen them create their own spirit weeks or have activities that they invite the other students on their campus to attend. Another thing that they do is host Ending the Silence presentations. Ending the Silence is a NAMI program or presentation rather that talks about what are mental health conditions, what are the signs, and how do I support myself or my friends or someone who might be experiencing that. And it's available for high school students, it's available for middle school students. It also has a staff version as well as a family member version. But that's something that the clubs connect with their local NAMI affiliate to bring to their campuses. They also host a really wide variety of different types of events, things like Wellness Wednesdays or self-care workshops. Maybe it's a paint night, maybe it's around the time of finals or end of the year, and they're bringing therapy dogs onto campus. There was one school that had a therapy llama, which I thought was incredibly amazing, and I would love to be there for that one. They're also advocating for campus policy changes, and this looks different on different campuses, but we are, just like our other organizations here, empowering them to have the resources and the tools they need to get involved in advocating. And really advocating is just all the work that they're doing in general. Oh, and one more thing I was going to mention based on the listening to youth creating change, we also encourage them to get involved with the Directing Change contest. And as part of our NCHS training, so trainings that we have for the club members to complete, we also share some of those videos. And I've seen them also host no, not film festivals, kind of a film festival, more like a watch party, and to showcase the films that are being created at their schools. So how are NCHS clubs supported? We were able to get this program off the ground thanks to the California Department of Education and through Project CalWell. And that has allowed us to provide club trainings like the one that I just mentioned. We also offer quarterly support calls. These are more so technical assistance, but we also encourage clubs to share their successes and their challenges and get that feedback and support from not only NAMI California, but from each other. And we've also been able to provide mini grants to support NCHS club activities. NAMI California also offers student and advisor manuals. We have an activity guide, toolkits, and more resources, really just to make sure that they're prepared and they have what they need to get these clubs started. They're not feeling like they're being thrust into it with no support. We are here to support 100%. And our local NAMI affiliates share local resources and coordinate the Ending the Silence presentations. So while we work at NAMI California is the state organization, we have affiliates in different counties, and they work more closely with the clubs in their counties to provide that local support and to make sure that they have what they need as well. Next slide. So how do you create a NAMI on Campus High School Club? It starts with an interest form, or you can also email as well. And then you meet with our NCHS coordinator, which also happens to be me, for an orientation webinar. This is a 30-minute webinar just to introduce the club advisor and the club leaders to the program, to the requirements, which are, we try to keep pretty minimum, and just to mental health and stigma as well, to make sure that we're all coming in with a baseline knowledge as well. And then they'll meet with their local NAMI affiliate. And this is to establish that connection of support, make sure that they have what they need to get started. And they'll fill out required documents, including an endorsement form, which I'll share a bit more about on the next slide. But then after that, they'll submit the NCHS club application. And in their first year as a club, they complete NCHS training. So that's where they get all the tools and knowledge they need to really create a sustainable club. Next slide. So going back to, or not going back, this is more so the club application part. What do you need to start? You'll need a group of at least 4 students, with at least 50% being class levels besides senior. This is to make sure that when the seniors graduate, we're able to keep these clubs going. You'll need an adult advisor committed to help lead the club, who's comfortable talking about mental health and is on campus during school hours. And I want to stress that they don't have to be a mental health professional. They don't have to be the school counselor or social worker. As long as they're comfortable talking about mental health, we really just want to emphasize that they're on campus, because the students are talking about mental health. They're talking about mental health conditions. And we want to make sure if anything happens, they have that trusted adult available to them. And I've also seen multiple advisors or supporting staff. So definitely don't feel like you have to go through it alone as an advisor. And then as part of the endorsement form, we ask that it is signed by the school principal as well as the local NAMI affiliate. The school principal's signature is basically our way of making sure that the club is compliant with any school rules or policies around starting a club. And then the local NAMI affiliate is, again, to making sure that you have that connection, that you're in contact with the local NAMI affiliate and they can support you with what you need. All right, next slide. And so that's the general overview of what NAMI on Campus is. If you're looking for more information, you can always check out our website. It shows the steps on how to get started. And you can always contact me at nchs@namica.org. And the QR code just goes to the website as well. Definitely would love to hear from you all.
Thank you so much, Marielle. And I just want to compliment NAMI on campus. What I really appreciate is that it's completely student-led. So you really get the voice of the student engaged. And in the chat, I'm sure the question will come up, how someone can go about getting a therapy llama. We would love to hear more about how that works. So thank you again, Marielle. And I have the pleasure of introducing our next presenters. They are with Western Youth Services, and we have 2 presenters this afternoon who are going to share with us. We have Dr. Lori Leibelhumer, and Lori is a licensed psychologist serving Western Youth Services, CEO for over 20 years. Western Youth Services is a leading provider of youth behavioral health programs in Orange County, spanning prevention, early intervention, and services for youth experiencing extreme psychological distress and their caregivers. Dr. Belhumer is an expert in ACEs, or Adverse Child Experiences, which led to initiatives including ACEs training and co-developing the Reset Toolbox that we will share with you during this presentation. Her award-winning book, Mastering Resilience, Transforming into Your Purpose, inspired the Super Resilient Youth Curriculum delivered across school districts, charter schools, with parent groups and nonprofits. She is also a TEDx speaker on ACEs and resilience. And she's going to be joined with Nicole Wolgemuth. Nicole is a licensed marriage family therapist and program development director at Western Youth Services, where she has spent the past 18 years serving in a variety of roles. She has expertise in ACEs and trauma-informed practices and is dedicated to strengthening the mental health of children by equipping educators and families who support them. Nicole currently leads the design and implementation of resilience building programs, educator training, and consultational models that enhance school and community mental health systems. She remains passionate about applying brain science to her work. And we welcome both both Lori and Nicole to the stage. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carrie. And I just want to say that I'm just thrilled to be here, and we're thrilled to be part of this important conversation. Thank you to the.
Hi,
I'm a
Nicole.
little.
Mariella, would you mind going and putting your camera on? Would you mind?
Or oh.
Sorry, my apologies, Lori. I apologize. Lori, if you could put your camera on, that would be great. And David Ram from our CDIT, can you go and spotlight Lori for me?
My camera is on, and I've had some, some technical difficulty, so I'm on my phone, but it shows that my video and my, it shows my video is on and my mute. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Lori, and I can see you.
Oh, you could. Okay, great.
Yes.
All right. Well, it's again, thank you to the California Department of Education and the Office of School-Based Health Programs for hosting this webinar. I'm thrilled to be here. I can attest to almost every single presenter here and have been a judge of the Directing Change for a number of years, and I've gone to the Wellness Together and presented there. So it's just amazing to be in with these really incredible people. So what I'm going to do is we're going to have some goals and objectives that are focused on raising awareness and knowledge about adverse childhood experiences, also known as ACEs. Many of you know what they are and what to do with that knowledge. And so we're going to cover how ACEs directly impact students' mental health and well-being. We're going to learn very powerful, practical strategies to address ACEs that can empower students to build resilience in and outside the classroom. And we're going to discuss how school staff can turn this knowledge into powerful transformations. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So, next one. Thank you. So, before we dive in, I wanted to share a specific story. Back up, please, to this Your Story Matters slide. So we're going to dive in and talk about a story of a student, to paint the picture of ACEs and the impact on our kiddos, mental health, and how we can help. So for confidentiality purposes, I'm going to call our student Sophia. That's not her real name, but it is a story that many students experience. And Sophia is a third grader, and she's had a profound history of trauma in her young life. She witnessed domestic violence throughout her childhood between family members. One caregiver died by suicide. And Sophia saw gang violence in her neighborhood day after day. And these traumatic experiences are called adverse childhood experiences, and they took a toll on Sophia and her mental health and well-being that significantly impacted how she showed up in and outside of the classroom. She, as you can well imagine, had anxiety, depression, worried all the time. She was irritable. She had a tough time sleeping. And of course, these things led her to not want to attend school at all, or to leave her home for that matter, and to do things that she ordinarily liked to do. Next slide, please. So Sophia has experienced several ACEs, and it's important to note that Sophia's story is not unique. And we know that many of you here have experienced students with this kind of level of trauma in your day-to-day work. And unfortunately, many of those students that you interact with have faced with similar ACEs. And according to the CDC, ACEs are defined as a harmful or distressing event during childhood before the age of 18 that disrupts a child's development. And they include abuse and neglect. And in the home, ACEs can include a variety of household dysfunctions, such as witnessing domestic violence, substance misuse and mental health issues, a dislocation from a parent or caregiver due to divorce, separation, including a parent or caregiver who's been incarcerated. Research has shown that when one ACE is present, 87% of the time, the child experiences 2 or more. Next slide, please. So when students experience ACEs, their mental health and well-being are directly impacted. ACEs create a toxic stress response in the brain, impacting both mental and physical health, and leaving youth and young adults at greater risk for mental illness, other diseases, and even suicide. For children and youth whose brains are still rapidly developing, exposure to highly stressful experiences can result in long-lasting negative impacts. According to the CDC, more than 75% of students have experienced at least one adverse childhood experience. And as we talk about ACEs, I bet you can think of a few students, young people that you know, that are struggling to overcome the negative impact of ACEs. We know that you have a lot on your plate, and we also know students need our support now more than ever. But I'm here to tell you and to share with you that there is hope. On the next slide, we're going to demonstrate the role everyone plays and what effective positive intervention looks like. We will also be sharing powerful, practical strategies everyone can use to address ACEs in students. Once Sophia's school staff recognized the warning signs and knew that Sophia and her family needed extra support from a mental health professional, her story began to turn around for the better. It's important to note that Sophia's school staff had been trained by Western Youth Services on ACEs. In fact, from the custodian to the superintendent were trained on the impact of brain science behind adverse childhood experiences. And therefore, the school staff were equipped to recognize the impact of Sophia's trauma and the subsequent need to place a referral to Western Youth Services. And so let's take a look at the strategies. So Western Youth Services bilingual clinician began working with Sophia and her parent by making home visits at least twice a week. The clinician gained Sophia's trust and taught coping skills, processed traumatic events, and helped her parent better understand Sophia's mental health needs. The clinician built bridges to connect Sophia, her school staff, and the mental health support team. And Western Youth Services facilitated lunch with Sophia and her teacher to foster a connection and a sense of support for her. And she began attending school regularly. And this was very vital to her family because it allowed her parent to obtain and maintain employment, and which positively impacted their financial situation. She made friends, connections, and fostered a support system in school, and she gained the necessary skills and tools to navigate future challenges. Next slide, please. So as you can see from Sophia's story, when mental health providers and school staff partner together to support students and families, the positive outcomes are endless. Next, I'm going to pass it over to Nicole, and she's going to share some practical, powerful strategies that all school staff can use to help address ACEs and building thriving, resilient students inside and outside the classroom. Nicole?
Thank you, Lori. I'm going to share some strategies that you can use right away to support students in overcoming ACEs. When we are preventive versus reactive, and when we intervene early, we know that students can overcome ACEs and gain the skills they need to navigate life's challenges. Today's strategies derive from the CPR framework, which is intended to cultivate resilience in students. C stands for connections, P for possibilities, and R for reframing. The first strategy is building a positive connection. Trusting relationships are vital, especially for students with challenging backgrounds. You can be that positive connection, and I bet you already are. Next time you're with a student, connect with them, really notice them. Be the caring, dependable adult who believes in them, sees their strengths, and cheers them on. Even better, look for one supportive action you can take to set them on the new path. Even one tangible step of assistance can change the rest of their life. In Sophia's case, this was the first step we took. We ensured she had positive connections with the adults around her, especially the therapist she was working with. The second strategy is to consider the possibilities. Considering possibilities means shifting one's thinking and imagining a future where success is the only option. Having something to look forward to gives students direction and purpose. For example, you can ask your students one of our favorite questions: what makes your heart sing? And encourage them to imagine doing something that they love. The third strategy, cognitive reframing, is essential. Cognitive reframing is the ability to view situations from a different and healthier perspective. You can help students shift their thoughts from "what's wrong with me?" to instead "what happened to me?" and then get them to think "what's strong in me?" So next time you're with a student who is saying something negative about themselves, maybe about something that happened, think about what's good in it and help them reframe their thinking in a way that helps them see their strengths. Cultivating resilience using these three strategies heals the trauma of ACEs. So consider the possibility of joining Western Youth Services in trying these simple and powerful strategies with the incredible young people in your care. Next slide, please. In addition to the CPR framework, it is important to ensure your school staff is trained on how to recognize ACEs in students and know when it is the right time to intervene in a student's life and refer students and families who are in need of extra support to mental health professionals. This is what made a life-changing difference in Sophia's story. Her school staff understood what she was going through and knew that she needed that extra support. Western Youth Services is available to train your school staff and organizations on ACEs, and we'll share our contact information with you at the end of the presentation. If you are looking to dive a little deeper, Western Youth Services has a signature program to help students in addressing and overcoming ACEs called Super Resilient Youth. Next slide, please. We're excited to share a little bit about Western Youth Services' signature program, Super Resilient Youth. It's an initiative designed to empower, heal, and inspire. Super Resilient Youth does not wait for a mental health diagnosis or a crisis to intervene. It is prevention, early intervention program that is designed to intervene before a crisis. Grounded in research, Super Resilient Youth offers a 4-module curriculum that equips students with the necessary tools they need to develop self-awareness and resiliency skills so they can navigate life's challenges and transcend the cycles of trauma. The hands-on program aspires to mitigate the adverse childhood experiences and foster a generation of survivors turned leaders who help break the generational cycle of trauma. Next slide, please. So are you ready to equip youth with the tools they need to thrive? If you are interested in learning more about Super Resilient Youth, we have a free demo of the program to share with you so you can see how it works. There will be a link in the chat where you can request a free demo, and it will also be included in the post-webinar follow-up email, so no worries if you can't grab it right now. Next slide, please. We also want to share more trainings and resources Western Youth Services has available statewide and at no cost. First, the Student Behavioral Health Incentive Program, or otherwise known as SBHIP, offers virtual trainings for all educational staff and includes topics such as practical strategies for managing challenging behaviors in the classroom, We have one on the resilient brain and the role trauma plays in development. Through this program, we also offer post-training support for all educators, including coaching and office hours. Second, we offer trainings through the Behavioral Health Training Collaborative, or BHTC. Whether you're an individual, family, or community group looking to learn how to address emotional health challenges, a school or agency that needs group training, or a professional seeking to continue your education, license, or degree, the BHTC offers no-cost trainings to meet you where you are. And lastly, the Reset Toolbox serves as a one-stop shop for a wide array of resources to help anyone who has young people in their lives. From podcasts to videos to books and programs, the Reset Toolbox has it all. The on-demand trainings have also been translated in the threshold languages. Okay, I'm going to pass it back to Lori to wrap up today's presentation. Next slide, please.
Okay, like I mentioned, there is hope. Together, we can support students in overcoming the negative impact of ACEs and help them become thriving, resilient students. And the next time that you're with them, be the caring, dependable adult who believes in them, sees their strengths, and cheers them on. You are helping. One tangible step can change the rest of their lives. So thank you for joining us at the to end the presentation. We just wanted to recap available resources. I believe, have been put in the chat. So there's ACEs training for the school, BHTC trainings, SB HIP trainings, and school-based post-training coaching and office hours. And lastly, if are you signed up to receive the Hub publication? The Hub is your go-to publication for the latest information on youth and student mental health and well-being, including new funding opportunities, programs, no-cost resources, and trainings, and so much more. Scan the QR code. And this concludes our presentation. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, for that presentation. And I really want to thank everyone for sharing space with us today. And I want to apologize for the IT issues we experienced, and hopefully we resolved it towards the end. So again, apologies on that area. I want to thank the Office of School-Based Health Programs, Dr. Mary Beth Boyer, Pam Cahucum, Tiffany Hudson, David Buck, Sarah Eaton, Lacey Baker, for your leadership and continuity of providing the best possible resources and supports to our school communities. And a thank you to all the panelists who are here today. You know, we search for the best of the best to provide so much to our school communities, and you delivered. So thank you all very much. And for all the people that attended today, thank you for your time. And remember, every child is one caring adult away from changing their narrative. And we would like you to be that one caring adult. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.
Praise to everybody.